everybody. This is Dylan Berry. I'm with Charyn Harris. She's an author, musician. You've been a tour manager. You've done a lot of things. And I want to talk about your book. I love the name of your book. I want you to say it because I want people to hear it from you. And I want to hear exactly what the premise of this book is.
Okay, so the name of my book is The Art of War for Creatives. I love The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which is all about strategy. It's about military strategy, but those strategies can be applied to life in so many ways. I've never seen them applied to creatives. They're just really two separate worlds. So I thought, why not bring them all together? Because for me, being a musician, I love, like I mentioned, the whole premise behind The Art of War. It's lessons like know your ground, know your environment. Basically something that we always say is like, know the enemy, but sometimes that enemy can be within. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy. So I thought about all of these different factors and thought about just putting them in a book because I hadn't seen anything that dives into the mindset of being a musician and what to do also if you go to school or you're starting your career as a musician. There's no handbook. And even though you can, know how to get on radio, know how to get a record deal, what about checking with yourself? Because I see a lot of musicians that may get some of these things, but they haven't done the work on themselves to get ahead. So really this strategy is working within yourself as a musician, as a creative even.
Well, I think, look, what intrigued me about this and why I was eager to get you on here is that you're absolutely right. There is no playbook for anybody, right? I don't care what level you're on or how you started or where you were. It's just like, okay, this is the road I'm on and where's it going? So to be able to have some different fundamentals and to have them taught by you, you've played Madison Square Garden, you've toured with Barry White, you've done a lot of stuff that is living the artist's life in a professional way. You've been a tour manager, and I guess you still are a tour manager for Macy Gray, who I adore. I think Macy Gray. A lot of the people that I came up with in Hollywood were Macy Gray adjacent.
Yeah, because she's been here for a minute.
Yeah, and I think Keefus was in her band. We used to play with Keefus and Trulio Disgracious with
I know Trulio.
All the gang, Angelo and the whole gang. So those were the guys that took me in fresh off the boat when I landed in LA, was Norwood and Angelo. And
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It was a hell of a ride. So tell us a little bit about, look, I just to give you some perspective, I've done a weekly radio show for 7 years now for independent artists. And I've interviewed celebrity artists to empower independent artists to get heard. So I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of artists on every level, from chain smokers, Armin van Buuren, ex-ambassadors level, down to, I just did this in my garage and this is my first song. What is it that you can teach or share your methodology for the people just starting out in the industry to get them from just being in their garage to being the next big thing?
Well, I'd say, first of all, look at being a musician as a business. Even though it's a creative business, it is a business. And your business plan needs to be sound. You need to have a clear mission. You need to have a vision. You need to have a business plan. You need to have a SWOT analysis, understand the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that surround you. What are you strong at? What are you weak at? What opportunities are there for you? And what threats are there in your environment? You need to know who else is there that's like you and what are they doing. And right. And then you also need to study the career paths of people who came before you so you can understand what they did to get to where they are.
Well, and the trick too is that if you don't know your past, you don't know your future, but the future and the now is always evolving, right? So you can learn these lessons from the past, but you have to adapt them to the world you currently live in. And I think a lot of artists struggle with that. The record industry in the 50s was vastly different than the 60s and the 70s, the 80s. And now with NFTs and blockchain, everything is changing again radically. So
it is.
one of the core, if you were to distill down the essence of your book into a single lesson, a single most important element that everyone needs to pay attention to, what would it be?
So if I were to distill everything, I would say it's really strategy, have just the clarity, the strategy. If you fail to plan, plan to fail. And
what I would gather too is that know thyself to inform the strategy, and be honest with yourself. What is it you're trying to do? I had this conversation this morning with some artists. It was they branded themselves a wife husband duo, and I said that's great, right? But if you want to start a tribe, you guys have already started a tribe. How do people become part of your tribe? They can't marry you. So do they feel left out? You know what I mean? Like, how do you build a tribe around yourself?
Right. Well, I think what you have to do is I have a download actually available called How to Find Your MVFs, your most valuable fans. And it's your tribe. How are you finding your tribe? So you have to create an avatar. And that's something that's really important. You have to know who you're talking to. You have to know their age. You have to know their habits. Do they go to school? Are they in college? What is their category in terms of their finances? And then you can get into the psychographics. What are their habits? What are their belief systems? So getting to know who you're speaking to very specifically. What are their pain points? Because if you're addressing their pain point, then you have a way in. But you still have to engage them in conversation. So that means, and I know it's been very difficult with COVID. I mean, prior to COVID, you can have maybe street festivals, or there were concerts and people were in person, or if you're doing a show, you could tell everyone to follow you on Instagram or social media or whatever. But now it's like we just have to connect with them differently. I see people going online and doing online concerts and getting comments, and and it's tricky because there's this whole culture, of course, of, oh, I've got to have so many followers. But that's not true. If you have the right amount of followers and they're dedicated fans, they're going to buy your product. I think a lot of people, it's like, what you have to think about what your ultimate goal is. Is your ultimate goal to have 20,000 followers, or is your ultimate goal to have 1,000 solid followers that you can engage with on a regular basis and who will support your efforts long term? So the sustainability factor is really important, because you can't talk to 23 million or 23,000 followers, really, not effectively.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the things that's missed on a lot of artists is the grass is always greener scenario, right? It's okay, I live this way and this is my tribe, but I really want to serve the Kim Kardashian tribe. And so, yeah, but that's not your tribe. Those really aren't. You don't hang out with those people, and you don't so how are you gonna resonate with that community, right? And I'm not saying you should limit your community, but I think it's important when you're starting to be very clear on who the people are that share your perspective and would like to live vicariously through you, because that's what art and entertainment really is. It's taking you out of your own space to live vicariously through a show or a movie or an experience, right?
Yeah, what's your message? You have to have a message. So what are you trying to say to these people, and how are you reaching them? Is it about love? Are you all cat owners and lovers, or are you all dog lovers? Do you all what is it? What is your hook? What is the thing? What's the commonality?
And I think if you look and you really think about it, the artists that you see are resonating with the commonality, their fan base. Look, I mean, you go to a Billie Eilish show, right? There's thousands of young girls that feel like they were Billie Eilish and dressed like Billie Eilish and are, you know what I mean? Living that vicariously through them. If you go to a Ziggy Marley show, you've got generations of people responding to that, how that makes them feel. And I think it's important to address that it really isn't about you. It's about how you make people feel.
Yeah.
That's important because a lot of people are narcissists. I think everyone is more or less a narcissist in one way, shape, or form.
Especially in
But
music.
and narcissism can confuse your
Yeah.
message,
Yes.
because I know you know a lot of famous people. I know a lot of famous people. If you're around famous people, you get it. These people aren't taking a picture because they want to honor that artist. They're taking a picture because of how it makes them feel and the social equity it brings them. It's actually their experience, not the artist's, right?
Right.
So if you think of that, how do you serve your community so that they're having their experience through what you're creating for them? That's my little diatribe about it. What do you think about that position? Am I wrong?
No, I think it's important to, to understand your community. It's like, how do you understand people? Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So for instance, and I'm sure for you and for me writing this book, it was like, I need to find my tribe. I need to understand who they are, understand what their pain points were. And, I, like a lot of people, I was on Clubhouse, during the pandemic and listening to people who were very frustrated and going in circles. And it really made me think about, what is it in the creative mind that's so against structure?
Right.
Because that's something that's very real. I had artists saying to me, I just need a manager. I don't want to do anything. I'm like, okay, but there's nothing to manage. So
I have that conversation.
Yeah. It's like you can hire someone as a consultant and pay them until there's something to monetize. But right now, you don't have anything to monetize. So you have to slow your roll and figure out what it is. And I think there's also this this pushback a lot of times with artists to maybe dive in a course that is going to help them understand themselves and to get ahead, because artists a lot of times want instant gratification. I think the older we are, we want instant gratification. I would say, there's maybe an age range up to about maybe 25. And then when you're 25, it hits you, okay, everything I was doing was not working. I really need to kind of take a different route. Because what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And you're not going to get that different result unless you slow it down and make a change. I mean, chase your tail for about 2 or 3 years. It's okay. I think people tend to do that because they want to see what's going on. But after that period, you have to go, all right, it's time for me to do something different. It's important to do.
So how do you structure that? I'm an artist. I'm defined as crazy. I'm running in circles. How do I put my life into perspective through your program, your book, your insights?
Oh, that's a great question. So what we have to do, we have to kind of sit down and dive into who you are, right? And do a little bit of a diagnostic, understand almost everything from when you started playing, understand dialogue inside your head, understand what you're thinking. Because if you can start to understand how you're wired, you can understand where to rewire and where to change the story so that you're doing things differently so that you can get a different result. And everybody is vastly different. Everyone's on a different path with what they're doing. So that's something that, we just have to sit down.
So let me ask you a question. Are you really trying to identify what's not working, or are you trying to identify what is working, or a bit of both?
Well, you have to do a bit of both. You have to understand what's working and you have to understand what's not working. So somebody may say, you know what, I just can't get online to do my content. I got great content, right? I want to be a performer. That's what I call myself. But you go to their Instagram and they have nothing on there. Why don't you have anything on there? Well, what if somebody says something? What if somebody says I'm no good? What if? Well, what if somebody says you're great?
So I'm any good business person will make their weaknesses their strengths, and if they can't, they'll find somebody strong at what they're not, right? And I just did this with a project. I'm working on a project called Los Federales. It's with my friend Greco Rossetti and Philip Laster from Prince's band, the horn guy, who's amazing. And we're doing this weird kind of like, gunslinger, Spanish horns, hip hop. And it's great, but we have no visual presence. So we said, all right, it's working, but it's not working as fast as we want to work. And why? Because we have no visual presence. So we brought a band member in who doesn't even play an instrument, but he shoots everything, does all the graphics, does the NFTs. And now we have something that we fixed a pothole, and now we feel like iterating, it'll work. So what I think you're saying is, if you're clear with yourself, you know where your weaknesses lie. Those are either your Achilles heel and screw the whole project up, or you fill them by either making yourself better at them or filling it with someone who's really good at it.
Right. Right. And
but it all starts with being honest. Right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you have to be honest. I get a lot of people who say to me, you know, I want to be a singer, you know, it means the world to me. Here, listen to this. And I listen to it and I go, oh, wow.
Like, maybe not a singer this time.
Well, I mean, sometimes I can hear the voice, but what I say to them is, I understand you have a great, you know, you have a nice quality to your voice. What I'm seeing that's missing is that you have not studied with anybody. You don't know how to maximize your voice. And that's really key. People don't really understand that, but even the best musicians and singers and actors, they have coaches that they work with over and over again. Even if it's not every week, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once every 2 months, but they go back to them and they go, hey, you know, am I doing this right? Am I being the best that I can be? And it's not just about singing, but, you know, conversely, I have singers who are actually quite good who think that they can't sing.
Humans are interesting creatures.
Very.
But, you know, I've seen, like, I just heard that song on the radio, which is a good song. And it's a cover of it. Also that baby, please, or whatever. I don't even remember the name of it, but it's like the guy singing it is using his voice wrong. And I hear it and I'm like, okay, you just blew up with this song on TikTok. Everybody wants you. Guess what the worst situation for you is? You have to sing this 3 nights in a row, how you're singing it. Because you're going to have to go on the Grammys and it's going to be the biggest night of your life. And you're going to be like this.
You're going to bomb it.
You didn't do the work.
Yep.
You know,
and you have to do the work and you can hear it. And if you're a studied musician, you know, if you understand music like you do, you understand the placement in a voice, especially. And voice, I mean, you could get away with it on an instrument because it's rhythmic and you're playing it and, you know, you flub, okay, you can take care of that. You can take care of the inflections. But when you're dealing with your voice, the voice is such a unique instrument, and you have to understand the science of the voice, and you have to understand breathing and placement and how to maximize it. And yes, a cool effect in the studio, but you're right, that person, you know, will probably blow it. We've seen singers that are just renowned singers go on TV and sound awful, you know, and it's like, okay, is it because of the production? Or are they just awful singers in real life? Because now we have all these tricks in the studio. So it's not like in the 70s and, you know, 60s and 70s. I would say in the 80s, that's when it kind of got a little funny with people beginning to tune their vocals.
Well, Madonna didn't tour for the first 8 years, and there was a reason for that. Anyway,
yeah.
Love you, Madonna. So, okay, know thyself, because that's the start of your strategy. Make your weaknesses your strengths. What next? Do the work.
Do that. Yeah, you have to do the work. You know, you have to do the work. And it's not to just say, oh, I have to do all this stuff, you know, first before I do blah, blah, blah. But you have to understand whatever your path is, what assets do you need? Do you have your bio? Do you have whatever you're trying to present to people, whether it's music, whether it's an art piece? Do you have a portfolio together that you can present? What is your footprint like? What have you done up to this point? I mean, even when I started this journey, there were a lot of things that I did, and I was like, wow, there's a lot that I did, but I never really talked about it. You know,
well, there's another thing that I think is a mistake with a lot of artists is, you know, it's in one ear and out the other, and you'll do something and walk away from it without claiming and maximizing what you just did. For instance, you play a show, that's it. You don't play a show and then go back and do the work after to thank people for coming to the show and to say, hey, that was a great show. What did you think of the show? You didn't engage after the show. You know what I mean? It's like, there's no follow-up plan in most artists' minds. It's just go for it, go for it, go for it. It's like, now go back, collect those Uber fans, take care of them. you know,
Right, right. Take
better
care of them.
business.
Do your meet. I mean, you could do a meet and greet or something like that. But you know, you have to engage with people. People like it when you engage with them, and that's one thing that I would say Macy is really, really good at. She
Yeah.
does meet and greets very, very often, and she loves it. She loves engaging with her fans, and I think it just really helps. I mean, she's been around for over 20 years, as you know. You know,
Yeah.
you've been around, and 20,
I've been here.
25 years. It's been a long time. Or at least, yeah, at least 25 years or more at this point.
You know, so some of the most amazing creators that I know that have the really great careers are really gifted at that. You know, a dear friend of mine, Verdine White, I just ran into last week
Oh,
from Earth,
yeah.
Wind and Fire. Masterful. He gives
Oh, he's great.
everybody, he leaves everybody feeling wonderful,
He
you know,
does.
when he
Yeah.
talks. Um, and there's people that are just good at that. I mean, I would say Taylor Swift wouldn't have a career if she wasn't as good at that as she is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
She's
know,
very, very personable, and it helps a lot, you know, because there was this time, especially, in the time of, even with Prince, everything was like a little hands off, like don't look them in the face. And,
right.
and a lot of artists were kind of doing that. We're like, oh, you can't look at me, or, whatever. And it's a little off-putting.
A little off, but
I mean, there
it's
was
why
hype, but I think
yeah.
people got over it. The real people got over it. And it's like, you know what? I mean, when you're approachable, when people can say, wow, I ran into so-and-so and they were so nice. They weren't like trying to hide from me. I ran into Sidney Poitier and he was just so lovely. I was like, oh my gosh, because I don't fan over a lot of people, but
Yeah.
I was sitting at a table. It was Morgan Freeman and Sidney Poitier. And I was
Oh,
like, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
I mean, but those are two very classy,
Yeah.
godlike humans. In fact,
Yeah.
one's
I'm
played
like,
God more than a few times.
ah.
No, I mean that's like, yeah, I have a post house in Hollywood, and one day I'm walking in, and I go around the corner, and there's Pacino standing right in front of me, and it's like, it's a God, it's right there, it's a human God. But because you grow up with these gods, but
Yeah.
it's also interesting, it's not possible with any sort of super fame to have a normal life, period. And I do feel
Right.
for a lot, I honestly would never want to be super famous from what I've seen, because more often than not, people aren't respectful of your time and who you are. And it's not easy to be gracious about that. I think I'd probably fall into the Tommy Lee category and be knocking people out about it. And I'm not a violent man, but get the camera out of my face. I'm with my kid. It's like, so I feel bad for Uber celebrities for that reason alone.
Yeah, yes, it's a little rough, I would say.
It's a life choice, and it's not easy. And I think astronomical success would be a hell of a thing. I mean, think of what Justin Bieber has to go through. Can you imagine? I mean,
Or
you can't go
BTS.
anywhere. Well, at least there's a whole bunch of them. They can do like a phalanx type,
Right. They can do like a
pattern,
dance and disappear.
somebody can like jump out, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of those guys, but yeah, no, I mean, look, it's not easy on any front. If you think that Beyonce's life is easy, it's not. It's
not.
probably way harder than yours, so I have a lot of respect for the trade craft of this industry. Once you do reach success, it's just as hard as when you don't have it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Harder.
That's really true.
The pressures mount. A lot of people think, oh, I get successful, and it's like, I'm just going to lay back in my Maybach and maybe make a song or two.
Yes, like your freedom is not the same. And if you value freedom, I think that's something that's really important, like normalcy. Like I watch Macy, like we go places, and some places she gets mobbed. But some places she just kind of goes into, she likes going to Walgreens or the mall or something like that, and just doing regular stuff. And she likes Chick-fil-A, and she just rolls up into the gas station and gets her orange soda.
She's so cool, dude. I love her voice, because you can't. It's unmistakable. If you hear Macy's voice anywhere, it's like, oh, that's Macy. Yeah, that's cool. I think when you talk about the art of war for creatives, right, which is what's the official book title? It's The Art of War for
That is
Creative.
it. It's The Art of War.
Right.
This is it. I just got
For
my
creatives.
physical
Got it.
copy. Here it is. Can you see it?
There it is.
The Art of War for Creatives.
The book is called The Art of War for Creatives, you guys, and you have to go pick it up because it's a lot of great stuff. Charyn Harris is the author, and that's spelled Charyn. So you don't mess it up or you won't find it. It's not like Aussie's Charyn. Okay.
No, it's not like Aussie Charyn with an S.
Charyn.
Charyn. Charyn. I know that's what people used to call me, Charyn. But yeah, but I think, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so, continue on with the principles of this book. We've covered a few of them. Give us some more nuggets. Musicians need help. They need insights, and more than anything, they need some form of structure.
They do. They do. They need structure. I would say, just one thing. Okay. So with mindset and even just trying to figure out why you do what you do, I think, to be clear on what are your objectives? I call defining your why, your objectives and defining your wow, your objectives and your why. Why are you doing? Because that kind of gives you some clarity. There are musicians who go, well, why are you doing this? Oh, because I can get a date this way or something like that. Or, everybody can see me, or it just feels good, or, so there is a bit of narcissism, as we said, involved with being in the music world. So I think when you can start defining why you're doing what you're doing is really important. And then also just to learn how to get out of your way. There are a lot of things that I think musicians tend to do in terms of, living in the present all the time, not necessarily saving long term. So, trying to get them to understand the value of, you've got to learn how to think long term. You've got to think of yourself as a business. It's really important to do that. You have to set yourself up that way. You have to understand how to talk to people in the music industry. You have to know where to find them. And you have to do the work. You have to create the relationships. People need to know who you are. That's how, a lot of people are still thinking in terms of record deals. And as we know, that's kind of not the way to go these days, because the deals aren't the same as they were 10, 20 years ago. So it's understanding what trends, what opportunities are there out there in the music industry, whether it's, placing your music in film or TV, or, as you were saying, NFTs, which I think is going to be the wave for musicians to monetize. The streaming services made $11 billion in 2020. 11 billion. How much did the musicians make? And not nearly that much.
If you look at NFT sales for music, it was 2 billion.
Yeah.
So by the way, I was just talking to Ski and over at Dash Radio. They just sold the highest grossing NFT at Art Basel for $14 million.
There you go.
One NFT, no smart contracts, just the NFT.
Yeah.
It might have been a smart contract, but it wasn't loaded with other NFTs. It was just that.
Just that one NFT, right? Yeah, it's going to be a game changer for musicians.
Well, this whole Web 3.0, and if people aren't familiar, you've got the blockchain is the core of it. The blockchain essentially is a ledger where you can store data that's indisputably yours. Like you own this, or you're affiliated with this. Smart contracts can attach to those blocks that can trigger other things. Like if I buy this NFT, I get free tickets to the show and a signed thing. And so there's all this creativity coming out of it that's generating cash. The thing that's interesting about this is an artist of any level, and especially artists that have a following, even if it's 1,000 or 200 million people, don't need a label anymore, because what they can do is pre-sell their record, pre-sell their tours, pre-sell their experiences. So you don't need Ticketmaster. You don't need the advance anymore from a label. This is a game changer that is like when the internet hit. Like it is that big. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss it. Yeah,
I know, it's huge. It's huge. We're, working on NFTs, and I'm working on NFTs with other people as well, which is really, really exciting.
That's awesome. I think it's everything. And just not to plug my own sideshow, but I have a podcast unveiling the new music industry. Basically, it's like unveiling the demystifying the new world of the music industry, with Scotty Page, who's the sax player from Pink Floyd and sort of a mad tech genius.
Very cool.
It's worth listening to. I have all these experts from all of these different fields, in the metaverse, blockchain, NFTs, cryptocurrency. So we haven't really branded the name of it yet, but it's, what is it? Demystifying the music industry's new future.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So check that out. Everybody should go pick up Charyn Harris's book, The Art of War for Creatives. It's a must read. And definitely, if Macy Gray's out, look for Charyn and go pick her brain to make you famous. It's going to be great.
I've made a couple. I've helped a couple of people who are famous.
I'm sure you have. You're doing a bunch of great work. So where can people find you on social media?
So they can find me on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Charyn Harris. And as you mentioned, it's CHARYN. You can find my book and other great products. I have a workbook, I have a mini course, I'm developing more information. I have free downloads on my website, which is SharynHarrisOnline.com. And then I have a Facebook group, which is called Musician's Guide to Grit on Facebook. So you can find me there.
Perfect. Charyn, it's been so good talking to you. I definitely want to have you on one of these panels. We're doing all these panels all the time and sort of industry expert stuff.
Yeah, would love to, and drill down more on stuff on how we can help creatives just have the best lives that they can have. I think it's important. The expression, being able to express yourself is really important. And just being able to do it for yourself. It's not, if you want to do it for a career, that's great, but do it for you.
I think a lot of creatives are constantly banging their head against the wall and need a second opinion or a second set of tools to use. So this is a very needed thing. I appreciate you for putting the work in and getting it done. And so again, if anybody wants The Art of War for Creatives, go pick it up. My name is Dylan Berry. Thank you for listening to our video and podcast. And we will be back with more content soon. You can follow me at Dylan Berry Official on the Instagram and everywhere else. And Charyn, thank you so much for being on the show. Charyn Harris, appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. I had a blast.
All right, say hi to Macy for me. I'll talk to you later.
I will. Thanks so much.